Welcome to College Game Night Update, presented by Liberty Mutual.
Well, rightly or wrongly, as we unveil our new college basketball championship week studios, many will think that this whole championship week really starts now because you have the big conferences going. Tom Brennan, Doug Gottlieb. That's really wrong because the other teams have an impact. But boy, Syracuse looked so good for the first half of the first half, and then they were terrible.
Played right into my theory, Carl. Too much too soon. I believe very strongly that if two teams are right about even and one gets too far ahead in the beginning, it's the death knell because Villanova came roaring back in the second half. Reynolds had 15 of his 22, and Villanova looked great. Syracuse, sayonara.
Yeah, you just mentioned on your SportsCenter update.
Yeah.
That John Daly was DQ'd for not showing up.
Right.
I think Syracuse DQ'd themselves. They pulled the John Daly
right out of the NCAA tournament.
I mean, it was just honestly kind of embarrassing, isn't it? It's not that you're beaten because Villanova threw in shots that, I mean, frankly, they got hot. And Scotty Reynolds had 22, and it was a special day for Villanova to give themselves a chance to play their way into the NCAA tournament against Georgetown tomorrow. But before you get to all that, you have a 19-7 lead. They start hitting shots, and you just give up layup after layup when you're down 10 points. It looked like Syracuse quit. They knew they weren't the better team, but they didn't grind their way through it. And I think that's very telling heading towards next season with these freshmen. Who comes back and matriculates as sophomores and who bails out for the NBA?
And young teams get slapped around. They tend to go south a little sooner.
Well, they've had,
but Nova's a young team.
No, I know, but you're on one side or the other of that ball, and when you're on the downside, the tendency is to go away a little sooner if you're not mentally tough and you're not experienced.
You're either doing the slapping or getting slapped.
That's my point.
And in your theory, if you slap first, you may not be slapping last.
That's it.
All right, well, Syracuse has had a number of big disappointing losses, and this, of course, is the latest. Will it knock them out of the NCAA tournament? More to discuss.
No, they're done.
They're done.
They're done.
All right.
There's no way you can put a bubble team that gets beat by 20 in a play-in situation against another bubble team in the NCAA tournament. The resume wasn't strong to begin with. Remember, they had a better strength of schedule. The problem is, as Jay Billis appropriately put out, they didn't beat those teams. You know, they're 1-2 against the Atlantic 10 at home, and they didn't play the best team in the Atlantic 10. They are done.
All right, and regardless of what happens anywhere else, Syracuse killed itself today.
Yes.
Villanova certainly didn't kill themselves today. They look very good, Dougie. You go back to that matchup against Georgetown, many will say this is a phantom foul. And
well, this is the NC State. This is in the Old Spice Challenge. They have a 1-point lead, and it was a phantom call. And I think that the selection committee, remember, they watch games from the start of the year into the end of the year, and they remember not just the NC State game, but this was a tie ball game. Now, this one would have gone to overtime, so it's not they would have won. They would have won, in my estimation, the NC State game. You combine those two, and do you put maybe one more win on their record? The one difference between this team and some of the other teams, high major teams on the bubble, they have 3 really bad losses: Cincy, DePaul, and Rutgers on the road. Rutgers are below 200 RPI. Those are bad losses. But they would gain a good win if you maybe combine the NC State, which is an average win, but it was back when NC State was healthy, and Georgetown, a team they played head up, and that game was at Georgetown.
They had 1 2-week stretch where they lost 5 in a row. They were 3-6 in their first 9 Big East games. They were 6-3 in their last 9, and now, of course, 7-3 if you count this game. So I just think that one little blip on the screen, now, again, it was a 5-game blip, but I think they've overcome that now, and I think even if they lose to Georgetown tomorrow.
The next question is, win Georgetown automatically
Yes. Win Georgetown, you're automatically in. And I would say that you want to look like an NCAA tournament team if you don't win. And you say, well, what is that? We're looking at these numbers. I mean, you can just tell. I mean, Syracuse didn't look like an NCAA tournament team. I think when you're battling against the non-numbers of the non-BCS conference teams, but they have a substantial, like, for instance, a VCU that has 12 road and neutral wins. If some of these people on the committee have seen them in person, they'll have differing opinions on them. Well, Villanova is in a big game against a well-respected opponent, one they nearly took to overtime, if not for that phantom foul. And with that in mind, I think even a close loss would probably get them over the hump because of the immense amount of respect Georgetown has nationally.
Appearance counts.
Yes.
That's the white shirt. Looks really good. Meantime, other games, it's just popping